Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome to 2022, and we are kicking off the year of the Division with what I believe is a pretty dope build video, probably my favorite one that I've done in a while, because unlike my last few where I've been primarily showing off older meta builds just to let you all in on what I use most often in the DZ, this is something entirely new that I came up with using stuff, gear, talents, etc. that I haven't seen, often used together or recently at all much, and you can judge yourself from the clips, but I think it's pretty damn strong. Now, to be fully clear, this is a high damage, low, not nothing, but lower survivability build. The setup is going to work its best when you're in a group supported by teammates using either a healer build or a tardigrade support build. Stuff like that can both increase your own individual survivability as well as take some of the attention and heat off of yourself. That said, this still absolutely can and does work solo because, like I advertised, this build is the 1v1 ender. In a lot of fair, head-on, one-to-one scenarios, this build is going to put the enemy down and win. The struggle you're going to face running solo is fighting one versus groups. Obviously, that's a struggle in the Division 2 in general, but that'll be exacerbated by the lower survivability. But in 1v1 scenarios, you're golden, and I think the clips thus far have hopefully demonstrated that quite well. In a lot of ways, this build is kind of like Banshee from the Division 1. It's designed to put people down, but it's really only designed for that. But enough talk, let's get into it. I present to you my first build of 2022, the Darkside. By the way, comment below if you get the Darkside reference from Div 1. It's kind of an inside joke that my friends and I have, but I'll be curious to hear if, if anyone gets it. And let's jump right into this. Now, before I get too far in, what I want to point out and what's kind of crazy is that I can still optimize a lot of this setup. So all the performance you just saw in those clips can go up by a good deal. I think I can get like close to 10% more damage across all this stuff if I were to optimize it all the way up. I can get my crit damage up by a good 5-6%. I can max out the crit chance. I can do a few more other things. So everything you see or you've seen so far, can increase, and you'll see that as we go across the pieces, that these things aren't all god rolled. I think that's pretty cool that there's still room for this to grow, and it's already performing so well. So starting off with the weapons, we have the Eagle Bear. You can use, I recommend an AR as your primary. You will see that as we go along, the big part of this build is swapping and getting a lot of quick periods of damage that you can use with an SMG on somebody. And so that is your primary melting source of damage, but for just your go-to longer range gun, I recommend an AR. You can use a high end if you prefer. However, I will warn you that you will get less crit damage because with the Eagle Bear, you get the really nice muzzle mod of 15% crit damage, and that's what allows you to get the 219% that I advertised, and that would go up to probably 224, 225 by the time I'm fully done maxing stuff out. So you will drop in crit damage if you choose to go with a high-end AR, but if you don't have the Eagle Bear, you don't like it, whatever, go with, Carbine 7, Police M4 from Awesome, one of the usuals, and you still will do just fine. You'll just have less crit damage than you could, potentially be getting than if you use the Eagle Bear. So that's your choice there. But then for your secondary, I certainly highly recommend the MPX. You could use a Banshee or one of the Vector variants if you want to do something different. However, an MPX setup like the one I have here is going to be your best bet as far as I'm concerned, and so try it out for yourself, but this is what I'm going to recommend. SMG, MPX with, obviously, you have damage and crit chance, damage target side of cover, and then in sync. And the combination of in sync and some of the stuff you will see later on as I go through the other pieces is what you're seeing when I go into that burst damage period in some of these clips. I swap to the MPX, which uses versatile, and we'll get to that. And then I pull out the shield, which in and of itself gives me extra damage because it's the firewall one, and then in sync procs, and then I start shooting and I get even more damage, and it's just a culmination of all these things in one. So in sync is the talent you're going to want on whatever SMG you choose. Again, I recommend the MPX, but if you want to try something else, you can. And that is what allows you to get that insane period of burst damage. And so there you have it. That's what I recommend. Again, like you can see, my crit chance and my damage target side of cover can go up from here, and it's just some of the other, part of the other stuff that I can get optimized up to make this even more powerful. To jump over to the stats, I will show you that I have 56 crit chance and 214 crit damage. Again, crit damage a little bit lower because I don't have that mod like the Eagle Bear, but still a ton of crit damage for still having 1.1 million armor. I think that's pretty solid. And then what else was I going to say? That on here, I can still get 6% more crit chance. And so at that point that I do have enough materials to optimize that all the way up, what I'm going to do is just swap out this for extra accuracy. I'd say that's the most useful next mod you can use there. So you're not just getting 5% extra crit chance that you're not using. You might as well get the extra benefit and go for a little bit more accuracy, get a little bit more shots landed, all that stuff. But otherwise, just do crit damage there and there. because you won't need the extra crit chance if you set up the same way that I do. Moving on to the gear, or I guess I should say orbit, just like everything else. Moving on to the gear, one piece, or my first piece of Sokolov, the brand set, which using 2 pieces of that is getting me 10% SMG damage and 15% crit damage. On here I have weapon damage, crit chance, and a crit damage mod. Pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to the chest piece, second piece of Sokolov, which, like I said, is giving me those 2 brand bonuses. This one, as you can see, can still be optimized plenty to get even more value. But again, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. Pretty much all you're going for here is maximum crit everywhere you can, and then the core attributes selection the way you want it. I do 4 and 2. You will see 4 blues, 2, or yeah, 4 reds, 2 blues. That is the way that I have liked doing it. I tested it with 3, I tested it with 1, and this seems to be a nice sweet spot in the middle where you can still get a ton of damage and not get melted instantly, especially because we are also running Unbreakable. So you can switch this up in a few ways. If you want to try something like Glass Cannon and 6 reds, you could. You're going to die awfully fast. But the idea here is that I wanted to make this something that can hold its own in a 1v1 and put people down as fast as possible. And this is the best middle ground for that I've found, where I can have a bit of survivability. I have that 1.1 million armor to go through, and then I get 50% of it back and that to go through. And hopefully in that time, with the amount of burst damage I have, I can put the enemy down before they do too much to me. So that is the idea there. But again, if you want to switch stuff up, you want to go for Obliterate and 1 blue, or Obliterate and 3 blues, or I don't know, Spotter and whatever. Like you can change it around, but the basic idea stays, and that's that this is really good in 1v1 scenarios. Moving on to the holster, we have an improvised piece, which if you don't know, you can craft these at the base of operations or Haven. And the benefit of using these is that you lose a brand bonus, but you gain a extra mod slot on pieces that don't usually come with mod slots, and this is so how I'm getting that crit value over 200%, right? So on the Eagle Bear, I have 219. On the MPX, I have 214. And again, that would go up if I were to further optimize all my stuff. But that is because you can't get, if you're using Sokolov and you're using Sombra, couldn't think of the brand for a second, unless I wanted to do a bunch of Providence, which I don't, then the best way you're going to get extra amounts of crit are extra mod slots, which you can get by using these improvised pieces. So I have my 1 of 2 armor rolls here, and then crit damage, crit chance, and a crit damage mod for the holster. Moving on to the backpack, we have the 1 piece of Sombra, which is getting me that 15% crit damage. And then on here, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage mod, and versatile is kind of the big ticket item. This is where the idea for the build started. I was kind of looking through talents. I'm like, what can I make that's just like a little bit different? I remember versatile was very popular a while back with shotguns, but you get the same amount of bonus damage when you're using SMGs, which is 35% within 15 meters. So if you've never used this talent, the way that it works is, say I'm running around with my Eagle Bearer like this, right? And then as soon as I swap, you'll see that icon show up at the bottom. Now for 10 seconds, when I'm within 15 meters of my enemy, I get 35% extra damage, which in combination with all the other stuff I'm getting is really strong. And then you'll see it goes on cooldown. It's a short cooldown. Like you can proc this pretty often. And you will also get a buff for the Eagle Bearer too. I believe it's 10% when you're within 15 and 25 meters. So you get that too. Now, again, it's set up more for the SMG because that's the most valuable bonus you're getting. But you still get benefit there as well. So that's the basic way that versatile works. And so you definitely want to get that on there. That's the whole idea of how this build goes. When I go through all the gear, I'll show you guys the full method for how you want to get the maximum burst damage value. But this is a big component to that, so you want to make sure you have that on your backpack, whichever brand you end up slotting in there. Moving on to the gloves. Weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. Another improvised piece, 2 of 2. And so again, that's how I'm getting that super high crit value. And you want to make sure, I mean, you probably will need 2 of those to get the same area that I am at. And then last piece here, bit of a toss up. You can go for another improvised if you want that most crit damage, but I felt it was valuable to run the Fox's Prayers, which of course give you the 8% damage to targets out of cover. And so on here I have that, armor, and then crit damage. Again, you can switch that out if you want. I felt it was worthwhile to do this over another improvised piece. While I would get, the extra 12% crit damage from another mod slot, I think it's worth having the extra damage targets out of cover boost, just because that's, statistically, that's like your best damage source along with damage to armor. I just think it's worthwhile, but test it out on your own if you want, but I recommend that. And then for the skills, we have the Firewall Shield, the Striker Shield, which of course gets you the damage bonus for enemies that are in front of you. I have 11% from my total one on here, and that is from using 1% damage bonus mod there, a shield health doesn't matter, and then another 5% there. So that's how I'm getting that value. Again, just going to help you out in those burst damage scenarios, and we will go over that in just a second. And you have to use Firewall to get that. That is the specialization I recommend for primarily the shield, but then also the medkit is also super viable. Everyone should know by now that in PvP, Firewall is just super good. And then last skill is also a bit of a toss-up. You can make your own judgment. I had the decoy on for a while, and that does give you some nice benefits to allow you to kind of sneak in and get those, shots in the back with that super high amount of damage. But what the EMP Sticky allows you to do is be even more lethal in those 1v1 scenarios because, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, tap it, someone's in the radius, boom, they get staggered, you get tons of free damage while they are not able to shoot. Is it cheesy? Yeah, just like a lot of other things in Div 2. It's going to win you a lot of 1v1 scenarios paired with your insane amount of damage. That's the idea for me running it. But like I said, run a decoy, run this, run something else you're comfortable with. Whatever you think is going to help you succeed the most is what you should slot into your second skill slot right there. All right, and before I sign off, I want to just give you guys a quick demonstration of kind of the burst damage sequence you're going to want to go through to get the most out of this if you're using all the same stuff as I am, which I recommend you at least try out. The main components being Versatile, In Sync, and Firewall with the Firewall shield. So what you're going to want to do is, let's say, just for the sake of testing or demonstration, there's a person standing here who's not going to shoot you back. You're coming around this corner and you're getting ready to shoot them. What are you going to want to do? Well, if you're using the EMP Sticky, maybe the first thing will get that down there so you can stagger them, but that's optional. Basically, what you're going to want to do is have your AR in hand so that you're not using the buff from Versatile, and then you're going to run around here. First thing you're going to want to do, swap. You're going to see 10 seconds there at the bottom, 35% extra damage. Pop the shield, that gets In Sync. As soon as you hit him, that procs the other part of In Sync, which gets you 30% more damage. And then from the shield itself, you're getting another 11%. So 35, 30, and 11. What are we looking at? 76% extra damage for that short period. And like I said, it's just going to be an insane, as you've seen in the clips, an insane amount of damage that you can output in that short amount of time. And that is basically the entire ethos of this build, is that you are the 1v1 ender, you are the Banshee of the Division 2, you are death itself, you are the Darkside. Okay, everyone, and that will do it for today's build video. I sincerely hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, I was overjoyed to be able to put something together that's at least somewhat unique and very effective for what it's made to do. It's a Manhunt Ender, and I really hope that you all can get some benefit out of that if you so choose to try this out. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on. It's going to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on the Darkside. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What would you change? Anything? I want to know. Honestly, I'm not sure if I will be putting more gameplay after the outro here or not. Gotta wait till I start editing stuff to see what I got. But either way, thank you all once again for watching. Keep an eye out for Friday. I got a pretty sweet video coming your way. And yeah, everyone, hope you have a wonderful day. And until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.